Hi everyone. Since Frontline closed about 3 weeks ago, I've been working on some encaustic paintings. What I'm going to show you today is a basic setup for creating your own encaustic panels, or if you're a painter and you like to work on hard surfaces, you can use these panels for either oil. The finished panels look something like this. You can see what that is. Basically they're made out of 1x2 lumber and birch plywood. When you create these, what you normally do is you just make a mitered frame out of 1x2. You can see it here, right? And in this case, I think this is 18x24. So what I did was I made my plywood slightly bigger than the frame. And if you're handy with woodworking tools, you can use a router to make that edge nice and clean. That's normally what I do. After I glue it up, I'll go around it and router it and sand it so that you got a nice flush edge where your panel meets your 1x2. Okay? And then you can see what I did here. I used regular painter's tape to go around my panel. What that does is it protects the side of the cradle from wax, or if you're using oil paint or acrylics, it'll just keep the sides of your cradle nice and clean when you're ready to frame this or present it. So once you peel that tape off, you got a nice clean edge, which you can just clean up with a little sandpaper, and then you can either stain it or wax it, and it just gives it a much nicer finished look. Okay? The only difference between making a painting panel and making an encaustic panel is that you're going to use a different type of gesso for the encaustics. So I buy most of my encaustic materials from R&F, and they do sell this product that's an encaustic gesso. It's a little thicker and heavier than regular gesso. But what it does, it makes that panel much more absorbent for the wax and the medium that you use to work on your paintings. The important thing when you create these panels is that you glue and clamp this up really well. So you can see what I use here. I'm just using these regular Irwin quick clamps. I have a set of about 8, but if you don't have any clamps like this, as long as you weight it down overnight, you can bypass the clamps if you have some really good material to weight it down with. So what you want to do is you want to use regular carpenter's wood glue to glue the panel down with, and once you weight that, you can the next day you can let that dry for 24 hours. The next day you can sand this and finish this edge off. I use a router occasionally. I'll make the panel slightly bigger and use a router, but if you're not handy with woodworking tools, you can just cut it to size and then use a sander just to try and get a clean edge there. By creating your own panels, you'll save yourself a lot of money. I'm not sure exactly what the cost is, but they do sell encaustic and painting panels, which are pretty much the same as you see right here, except they're pretty expensive. These were fairly cheap to me. I just bought a sheet of birch plywood and some 1x2 and created them using that. So let me just review what we just went over. It's basically making a setup for your own painting or encaustic panels. The materials that I use, like I said before, is just 1/4-inch birch plywood, which you can buy at Home Depot or Lowe's. 1x2 pine. Just eye it up when you buy it. Make sure it's straight. I miter my edges, but you can just use a regular square butt joint edge also, as long as you nail it and glue it up pretty well. You're going to glue that together with carpenter's wood glue. In this case it's Type On, but Elmer's makes some also, so whatever brand you buy, as long as it says wood glue on it, it should be fine. You want to get a regular gesso if you're doing acrylic or oil painting, or if you're doing encaustics and you want to get into that, you want to buy your material, and this encaustic gesso is sold by R&F. Your finished panels will look something like this. That's your wood surface. Okay, now if you can actually just work right on that if you're doing caustics. I like to put I like to normally do a gesso coated surface because I end up drawing and collaging onto this when I'm working with my encaustics, so I kind of like a white background, but either way will work with encaustics or painting also. You can paint directly right on the wood and it's absorbent, so it should be fine. My clamping system, I just use regular Irwin clamps to hold these down. I nail those edges together and glue them, and you're all set to go. I think in the next segment I'll try to show you my encaustic setup and some of the ways that I work. You know, all encaustic artists work a little differently. My thing when I do encaustic paintings is I like to add collage and layers of elements similar to my prints and monotypes. Alright, that's an encaustic piece, and you can see it's basically the same type of panel that I just talked about. Alright, so in the next video I'll try to talk a little bit about setting yourself up if you're interested in doing encaustic.